On this episode of the Press Rewind Prince Lyrics podcast, I am impatiently waiting for the weekend and instead discussing the lyrics to the vault track Come Elektra Tuesday, as time passes slowly. Come Elektra Tuesday was recorded at Sunset Sound Studios in Hollywood, California in late May 1985. Unlike many of the vault tracks recorded in the spring of '85, this song did not appear to have any connection or intention for inclusion on Parade, which was the next album that Prince was recording tracks for at the time. The Family's album was all but wrapped up by late May. Sheila E.'s second album, as well as Maserati's debut, were also wrapped up around this time, so what project could Prince have been intended this song for? Well, according to the Parade and Sign of the Times studio sessions book and Prince Vault, his mind was now on recording songs for Jill Jones's solo debut. And just a reminder, Jill was not technically an official member of the Revolution, but her vocals could be found on albums like 1999, Purple Rain, as well as songs by Sheila E., The Time, Apollonia 6, Maserati, and other Prince songs, non-album songs like the B-side Hello. And of course, she is immortalized on the screen as Purple Rain's blonde waitress at First Avenue. So that's Jill Jones, just as a reminder for those of you who may not remember who she is. But if you're listening to my show, the chances are you already know who Jill Jones is and her importance in Prince's career in the 80s. So now she's getting a chance to make an album for Prince's Paisley Park label, and songs were being recorded as intended for this project around 85, 86, even earlier than that, but I think the bulk of what ultimately ended up on the solo debut that was released on Paisley Park Records in 1987 was likely recorded in this 85, 86 period of time. So, in the title, Come Elektra Tuesday, this is like one of our early introduction to the word and name, Elektra. And Elektra was actually first heard on the song The Ladder, which was on the Around the World in a Day album, had just been released a month prior to the recording of this song, according to Prince Vault. So, The Ladder just came out in late April of '85 on Around the World in a Day. About a month later, Prince is writing a song called Come Elektra Tuesday. So there's definitely some synergies here with this being part of the lexicon of Prince speak in 85, 85, since The Ladder would have been written and recorded in 84, but nonetheless. This is a name that had been bouncing around in Prince's brain for a bit, so he wanted to maybe flesh this idea out, utilize this name a bit further, maybe create another alter ego for one of his signings. Apollonia, Vanity. Yeah, Sheila E's name is Sheila, but yeah. I think because of maybe she had a bit of a career prior to meeting Prince, made it a bit more difficult. But Jill was also not really into the whole rename me, give me an alter ego kind of vibe that Prince was putting out there for a lot of his proteges and artists that he signed to Paisley Park, because according to Jill, she was supposed to be named Elektra. And I'll read a little bit more into that when I discuss the passages about this song in the Parade and Sign of the Times studio sessions book. But long story short, Prince wanted to rename Jill Jones Elektra, and Jill wasn't having it. She's like, my name is just fine, thank you very much. And how this would have exactly worked with a song that's sung in from the male perspective, which is what this song is, and it'll become clear as we go through the lyrics. The song is sung from a male perspective, and if it was intended to be sung by Jill on her debut, the lyrics would have had to have been tweaked a bit to make it match, the point of view of the woman, aka Elektra, that this song is about. Jill was only credited as JJ on the 1999 album, so even back then he wasn't really using her full name on the credits, and why I'm not sure, but she wanted to maintain her given name for her musical career, so that's just how it went down. She refused, and that's the end of Elektra being thought of for Jill's professional or stage name. And I'll read a passage about this in the book right now. Jill says, "My name was supposed to be Elektra Assassin. I actually was like, no, what's wrong with Jill Jones? He was always trying to improve me and make me something else. It was weird." And that is a quote from Jill Jones as cited in the Parade Sign of the Times Studio Sessions book. And then later on in this page it says, Prince worked on an extended mix of Come Elektra Tuesday for Jill Jones, possibly because he was pushing for her to change her name to Elektra. Because the lyrics were drafted from a male perspective, it would require some rewriting to fit her. Prince was a big fan of the Frank Miller created comic book character Elektra and had written a song called Come Elektra Tuesday that he wanted me to sing, remembered Jill. His manager, Steve Fargnoli, came to my rescue and told Prince I was already established as a singer, so I didn't have to change my name. Some of the phrases in the lyrics, such as Your Love is a Trip, were already reflected in songs on our album, such as Baby You're a Trip. And I just added that little aside. Other ideas like singing about someone behaving like a dog in heat would resurface on future songs like the unreleased God is Alive in 1988. So that is what is mentioned in the book for Come Elektra Tuesday, and there's other passages I'm going to read later. So I'll pause that for now and just get back to talking about the song and digging into the lyrics. Of course, though, I do have to mention, Prince did finally find a muse that was willing to take on the moniker Elektra, and that, of course, is a singer and dancer named Tara Patrick, who Prince met in the early 90s and renamed her Carmen Electra. It really wasn't a match made in heaven creatively, unfortunately, for either of them. He used this name on someone, and she ended up, carrying that with her for the rest of her career. So, and she has reflected that she's proud that her stage name, her alter ego, Carmen Electra, came from Prince's brain. And apparently Elektra was also the name of a character Prince had in mind for the Roadhouse Garden musical project. That never gained any traction. This was also supposed to be around this time, so if Prince wrote this song for Jill to change her name to Elektra, which is a character she was supposed to play in a movie called Roadhouse Garden, then all of it would have lined up perfectly for Prince. But once Jill refused to change her name to Elektra, and then I don't know if one led to the other, or if maybe just the Roadhouse Garden project was nothing more than just a passing fancy, then he dropped it for quite a while, probably a good 7-8 years before he decided to pull it out of his brain again, the back recesses of his brain, and say, okay, I found a new person who fits the moniker of Elektra perfectly, and she's willing to take it, so let's go. So let's dig into the lyrics then from Come Elektra Tuesday. First verse, she got a movie star attitude, the girl can't hide. Jean Harlow in her prime, looky here, she's got a spooky kind of half-moon look in her eyes. Scared a sane man out of his mind. She put you in a trance, with the scent becoming like a dog in heat. All the men that touch her came and went, one kiss, they're at her feet. So this entire first verse appears to be a testament to how beguiling and hypnotic this woman's beauty and passion is. It really feels like this is well-trodden territory for Prince. Maybe it wasn't in the spring of 1985, but, reflecting on his career after, nearly 50 years of him making music and writing songs, and, songs that have been released after, posthumously after his death, I think this type of song feels almost trite, and a bit repetitive to better songs in my mind, like Irresistible Bitch from the 1999 era, Shockadelica, which would be recorded in the near future and released as a Sign of the Times B-side. There are other songs in Prince's catalog where he sings about a woman whose beauty and physical attraction plus her aura or just her attitude have put men in trances, like literal trances, where they just can't seem to think of anything but them and will do anything to be with them. The little bit of the dangerous beauty being so attractive to men that it's almost like a siren's call type of scenario that we've got going on with these women in these songs. So the lyrics in this song don't feel very special or unique because of that. And I think a song like Shockadelica is done much more interestingly, mines these themes much more interestingly from a musical and a lyrical perspective. But just some things I'm going to call out. So he mentions Jean Harlow. That's another, reference to old Hollywood beauty and old Hollywood actresses. The previous episode that I recorded for All My Dreams, he mentions Norma Jean, a.k.a. Marilyn Monroe. So this is just, again, something that Prince was doing quite a bit. He was probably watching a lot of these old films, or at least diving into, that era for creative purposes. Under the Cherry Moon movie, references to old Hollywood actresses and even old Hollywood actors. He'd also referenced Clara Bow in Condition of the Heart, which was on Around the World in a Day, which had just been released to stores that previous month, and mentioned to Rudolph Valentino, Manic Monday, a song that he had written maybe a year or two prior. So there's lots of examples of old Hollywood references in Prince's music from this time period. And Jean Harlow was just yet another in that somewhat long line. I can't stand an hour away from your hips. Come Elektra Tuesday, your tongue on my lips. I don't need a vacation, your love is a trip, 'cause I think my personality about to flip. Hit me. So can't seem to wait any longer to be with her. He wants her on Tuesday, which I take it to mean like either tomorrow or right now. Like today might be Monday. He's like, come tomorrow. Like I don't want to wait until the weekend. Like you just left. Like if you're thinking of this hypothetically, what's the scenario? Like this woman is with him on the weekends maybe, and then during the week they can't see each other for whatever reason, work, distance, other responsibilities. And so by Monday night or Tuesday morning, he's already craving her to the point where he is nearly manic. Like, my personality is about to flip, he says. So I think you're getting the impression through the song and from the lyrics that this person is smitten to the point where they're a bit out of wits, a bit out of sorts. And the mention of a spooky kind of half-moon look in her eyes in the first verse almost makes you think that there's some sort of witchcraft, or something supernatural going on with this woman and her ability to attract males. But yeah, that's really what I get from the chorus. He just can't wait any longer to be with her. He wants her, wants Elektra to come on Tuesday. Although he says, come Elektra Tuesday, not Elektra, come Tuesday. Just another way to say the same thing, but make it a bit more interesting, or make it fit with the, with the music behind it. The rhyme patterns potentially works better. Your love is a trip, as I mentioned, that's already a line used in Baby You're a Trip, which had been originally recorded way back in 82, and I say like 3 years prior in 82, before it was finally re-recorded for Jill's album around 86. I like that. I do like that line, though. I don't need a vacation, your love is a trip. So your love is a trip can be looked at as to have double meanings in this context. I don't need to go on vacation because your love is a trip. Trip meaning someplace to go, going someplace else besides where your home is. And of course, a trip meaning groovy type of scenario, to use more antiquated language, but something that is exceedingly interesting, I guess. She drives an Aston Martin in violet and white. Sometimes she let me wash it down when it get too clean. It still smell like Tuesday night. Babaloo when Elektra's around. Fascination will take you when she lay you upon your chest. Maybe Monday long. Hello there, Elektra, you the best. But I got to get it on Tuesday, baby, 'cause Friday, that's a little too long. So I want to call out just, Prince liked the idea of fancy cars being an aspect of someone's persona, or their who they are, representing what kind of, class that they come from. Aston Martins are luxury cars that come from Britain. They're most famously known for being James Bond's car of choice. Specifically in Goldfinger was the movie where this manufacturer, this type of car was featured in film and kind of iconized on film, on screen in the movie Goldfinger. So James Bond's favorite car to drive, and then they just come with a style and class and luxury that someone like Elektra would be driving. Prince ultimately owned or leased, I'm not sure if he owned it or leased it, a baby blue Bentley. I think it was owned. A baby blue Bentley that I think it was in the mid-2000s or so. I saw it when it was on display at Paisley Park when I was there last in 2023 for Celebration. It's a beautiful car, but Bentleys are also known as being a high-class luxury vehicle, and so just another callback to that. There are probably other references to luxury vehicles. I'll have to start paying attention to those more as Prince gets more money and becomes more famous. Does that come out into his lyrics more, or is it just more one of those comments that he makes when he's referring to other people who are coming from high class? Definitely a status symbol nonetheless. The line, she let me wash it down when it get too clean, but it smelled like Tuesday night. This one confused me a little bit at first, and I'm not sure exactly what he means here. It could mean something as simple as he's talking about this as a metaphor, a sexual metaphor. Once something is clean, you can dirty it up in more ways than one. So maybe he's talking about dirtying it up in a sexual way. In the line after that, it smelled like Tuesday night. That could be, again, referencing to smelling like sex, I guess, or maybe because Elektra often is summoned on Tuesdays to come visit because he can't wait until the weekend, and maybe they do it in her car. I don't know. Who knows if that's what he's referring to there. I kind of get that, but I don't know that for certain. Or maybe it smells like desperation. It smells like Tuesday night. Maybe it just means that he's desperate, because by Tuesday night he's desperately seeking Elektra. And his desperation comes with an odor to it, the air of desperation or the smell of desperation. The line, Babalu, when Elektra's around, I had to look that up because I've never really heard that phrase being used. And it is a song, like a Cuban song, but I don't think that is what Prince is saying here. Just thinking of the context, Babalu, when Elektra's around. So I found that it also has another meaning as being like a fool or an idiot. And that makes more sense to me because if he's a bit gaga over this woman, that would be also acting a fool when she's around because he's just basically tripping over himself to be with her, cartoonish jaw on the floor like you see in like the Looney Tunes cartoons when, a pretty person, beautiful animal or person walks by. So I kind of get that take from this line. Babalu and Elektra's around. He's just being an idiot. Or a fool, acting a fool, as I said. And again, just points back to him not willing to wait for the weekend to get Elektra again, to have time with her. Maybe Monday long. Hello, Elektra, you the best, but I got to get it on Tuesday, because Friday, that's a little too long. So that whole section of this verse is just pointing back to that concept of not wanting and not willing to wait until weekend. Come Elektra Tuesday, Friday too long. Don't you make me wait, don't do me wrong. And he repeats those lines a bit more. Come tonight, I want to talk a little bit. Her body's so long, I climb it at night, in the hopes one day I'll reach the top. I'll suffer alone till no one frightens you. Until that day, I won't ever stop. So I just find this a bit humorous, the imagery of Prince literally climbing up a tall woman's body, which is the visual he's painting here. Her body's so long, I climb it at night in the hopes one day I'll reach the top. Maybe a bit like Rapunzel, let down your hair. The Prince Charming at the bottom of the castle or spire is trying to climb up to reach her, and it's the same idea. Her body's so long, I climb it at night. But also there's, of course, the sexual imagery one gets from climbing someone's body. You get the impression that they're also talking about sex. The line, I'll suffer alone till no one frightens you. Until that day, I won't ever stop. That line still kind of puzzles me a bit. I'll suffer alone, meaning probably like throughout the week, during the days that she's not around, till no one frightens you. Okay, so does she only come and visit him when she's no longer frightened? I'm not sure, like, what that means. So I'll suffer alone, I get it. Till no one frightens you. Until that day, I won't ever stop. Not sure what that means. Not sure if that just means he will continue to be alone and pine for her when she's not around until she's ready to come back over. And he's not going to stop pining for her until she does. Not entirely sure if that's what that's meant there, but I'm interested in other folks' take on it because to me it's a bit confounding. Come Elektra Tuesday, body much too long. I got to have you tonight. I got to have you tonight. Come Elektra Tuesday, till Tuesday. So that is the song Come Elektra Tuesday. I do find it interesting. It says Till Tuesday at the very end because Till Tuesday is a band fronted by Amy Mann who released a very popular song in 1885 called Voices Carry, but that's neither here nor there. Probably coincidence, right? So I'm going to read now from the Parade and Sign of the Times Studio Sessions book. Come Elektra Tuesday is a catchy song about missing his partner and the anticipation of waiting until the weekend to make love again. Once again drawing on his lexicon of film history, he compared his lover to 1920s movie star Jean Harlow in her prime. Prince had previously mentioned Greta Garbo in Vanity 6's 3 times 2 equals 6, and Clara Bow, which I already mentioned, in Condition of the Heart. So he was obviously a fan of movies from that era. It was likely that he had been reflecting on this period because of how he was presenting the family's 2 singers, Susanna Melvoin and Paul Peterson, as glamorous stars from that generation. Prince often used a standard method of getting the sound of the drums on tracks like this, remembers Coke Johnson. We had a little device called a clap track. It was an 8-inch by 12-inch little piece of electronic gear. You could send a snare into it and it would trigger the clap on the output, and then you could adjust the pitch, the length, and how raggedy the clap was, or you could just play it manually with the trigger button. So he could just sit there and drop that in instead of the snare, which gives it a more human feel. So that is what they say about Come Elektra Tuesday. One more comment. Prince revisited the Elektra concept multiple times in his career. Besides Come Elektra Tuesday, it was the name of the character in the latter, and the name he suggested to Jill Jones and then gave to his protege, Carmen Electra. So, yep, that is also stuff that I had already commented on, so nothing new there, but I thought I would still read, as I've been doing for many of these songs. I'd think Come Elektra Tuesday is a nice song. I don't think it's anything special. Personally, just my personal taste, I don't find the song to be one of Prince's best vault tracks, and maybe that's why it wasn't incorporated in the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe edition that came out in 2020. Who knows, maybe someday it'll get released if there's ever a Parade Super Deluxe. At this point, I think many of us who are following the estate really don't have any expectations for these types of releases coming out on a regular basis. But Parade is a potential one. Just the problem is, I think they used a lot of the better songs that would have made more sense on a Parade Super Deluxe, like All My Dreams, for example, for the Sign of the Times. So, they kind of shot their load right there in the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe, that a Parade Super Deluxe may not have as much appeal unless they are able to really unearth and find some really cool things, cool artifacts, alternate takes of songs that we never heard before. The true soundtrack to the movie, I should say, which includes some of the instrumental tracks used, and honestly, maybe just a good live, release that accompanies it from the Parade tour. So, just some ideas, just some thoughts from me. Don't have much more to say about this song, so I will close this episode out. This has been the Press Rewind Prince Lyrics Podcast. I've been your host, Jason Brenninger. You can find the show at pressrewind.net. Look for Press Rewind Prince Lyrics Podcast on social media, and you can find the show and follow the show there. And any comments, please let me know. I'm always interested in hearing what you have to say about these songs. So, thank you very much, and until next time, goodbye.